I cut off support for my brother's family after he declared there was no room for failures in our family, which led to me being excluded from Christmas. Now, he's spiraling. This year, I was genuinely looking forward to the holidays. For once, I wasn't scrambling at the last minute. By early December, I'd already bought gifts for my parents, my brother Ethan, his wife Laura, and their kids. I even picked up extra presents in case unexpected guests showed up. I don't know why, but I had a strong feeling this Christmas would be special. So when my mom opened the door and said, "You're not welcome here this year," I was stunned. I stood on my parents' porch, clutching bags of wrapped gifts. At first, I thought it was some odd prank. I started to laugh, but Ethan's voice cut through from inside the house. "This isn't a place for failures," he said sharply. "You're becoming a burden to everyone." I just stood there staring at my mom. My dad lingered in the background, avoiding my gaze, silent. My mom looked uneasy but stood her ground. Ethan, though, was smug, radiating arrogance. A storm of emotions hit me, humiliation, anger, confusion, but I kept my composure. "If that's how you feel," I said with a nod, then turned and walked back to my car. Sitting in the driveway, staring at the gift bags on the passenger seat, something shifted inside me. No room for failures? A burden? Where was this coming from? I suspected Ethan was behind it, but I couldn't figure out why. Over the years, I'd been nothing but generous to him and his family. I'd covered summer camp fees for his kids, bought their school supplies, and even paid his mortgage when he was struggling. Yet suddenly I was uninvited to Christmas. I wasn't ready to leave without answers. I left the gifts in the car and headed back to the door. My parents were still there, whispering to each other as if they hadn't expected me to return. Ethan was lounging on the couch, scrolling through his phone, acting like nothing had happened. I didn't bother knocking. "What's going on?" I demanded, stepping inside. "Why am I not welcome at Christmas?" "What did I do?" Ethan smirked, not looking up. "You really don't see it, do you? You've been slacking lately. The kids barely got anything from you this year." I stared at him, dumbfounded. "What are you talking about? I spent hundreds on gifts for your kids. They've got more presents in my car than anyone else." Ethan finally looked up. "Last year you did more. This year it's like you don't even care. It's embarrassing for us." I turned to my parents, expecting them to intervene to call Ethan out for his behavior. Instead, my mom gave an awkward smile and said, "You just bought that new car, though. You found money for that." For a moment, I was speechless. "The car's on a loan," I said, keeping my voice steady. "And even if it wasn't, why does that make me responsible for Ethan's kids? They're not my obligation." Ethan leaned back, smug. "You're the one with the big paycheck. Families support each other. You've always done it." I glanced at Laura, sitting quietly in the corner, her face flushed, staring at her hands. She looked like she wanted to disappear. "Is that your logic?" I asked. "Because I've helped before, I'm supposed to keep doing it forever, and if I don't, I'm a failure?" Ethan shrugged. "If it fits." That was it for me. I shook my head and stepped back. Turning to my parents, I said, "You're right, I don't belong here." Then to Ethan, "Enjoy your Christmas, and good luck with those gifts, because this failure is done bankrolling your life." I walked out without waiting for a reply, gripping the steering wheel harder than necessary as I drove home in silence. I couldn't wrap my head around it. Was I the bad guy here? For years, I'd gone out of my way for my family, always stepping in for Ethan when he needed help, making sure his kids never went without because of his financial struggles. And now I was a failure for not doing enough and banned from Christmas. Sitting in my driveway at home, staring at the gifts still in the car, I felt sick. I'd spent weeks picking out thoughtful presents, imagining what my parents would appreciate and what the kids would love. For what, to be told I wasn't wanted? The more I thought about it, the clearer it became. This wasn't just about Christmas or gifts. It was a pattern I'd been too blind or too willing to ignore. Ethan had always leaned on me. He and Laura struggled financially early in their marriage. He couldn't hold a steady job, and Laura's part-time work barely covered their essentials. I stepped in, thinking it was temporary. A few $100s here and there, helping with rent when they faced eviction, covering childcare costs after their second child was born. But temporary turned into years. Ethan always called me first when things went wrong, and I always said yes, not out of obligation, but because I loved his kids and didn't want them to suffer. Looking back, I realized I'd created this dynamic. I made it too easy for Ethan to depend on me, and somewhere along the way, his gratitude turned into entitlement. Being shut out of Christmas for not doing enough was the final straw. The next morning, with a clearer head, I made a decision. No more bailing Ethan out. No more stepping in to fix his shortcomings. If he wanted his kids to have the gifts I'd bought, He could figure it out himself. This choice wasn't easy. It risked my relationship with Ethan, his kids, and maybe even my parents. But I couldn't keep being treated like a cash machine instead of a family member. They didn't reach out, and neither did I. Maybe they got the message, I thought. But Ethan wasn't going to let it go so easily. New Year's Eve passed in complete silence. No calls, no texts, nothing. My parents, Ethan and Laura, stayed quiet. For the first time in years, I spent the holidays alone. It was strange when midnight came and my phone didn't buzz. I considered calling, but every time I did, I pictured Ethan's smirk and his words, "No room for failures." I'd been the one holding things together for years, and they had the nerve to treat me like I was disposable. If they wanted space, I'd give it to them. By mid-January, things started to shift. Laura, always quiet and conflict-averse, texted me out of the blue one evening. It was short. "I'm sorry, I don't agree with what happened. Ethan won't listen to me, but I wanted you to know." I stared at the message, unsure how to respond. It felt good that someone in the family saw the truth, but Laura's apology felt too late after her silence that night. Finally, I replied, "Thanks, Laura, but this isn't something I can just brush off." She didn't push the conversation further. Then, in early February, Ethan showed up at my house unannounced. I was in the middle of a work call when I heard the knock. I ignored it at first, not expecting anyone, but the knocking persisted. When I opened the door, Ethan stood there, looking disheveled and agitated, more than I'd ever seen. "We need to talk," he said, pushing past me before I could stop him. I crossed my arms. "What's this about?" He didn't waste time. "You need to stop this act and start helping again." I laughed, not because it was funny, but because I couldn't believe his audacity. "Helping? You mean funding your life? I told you I'm done." He glared at me. "You're the one with the money. Do you know how hard it's been since you decided to pull this stunt? The kids barely have what they need. Laura's struggling to hold it together." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "Are you serious right now? You're a grown man, Ethan. You have a wife and kids. If you need money, earn it. It's not my job to fix your life." He snapped back. "You've always helped before. Why are you being so selfish now?" "Selfish," I repeated. "You want to talk about selfish? Let's talk about how you lied to our parents about me, turned them against me, and kicked me out of Christmas because I didn't spend enough on your kids. And now you're here begging for more. You've got some guts, Ethan." I raised a hand to stop him before he could respond. "We're done. I'm not giving you another cent, and I don't want to hear from you until you learn how to act like an adult." He stood there, glaring, then stormed out. I thought that would be the end of it for a while. He'd complain to my parents, but he'd eventually realize I wasn't budging. I was wrong. 2 days later, I got a call from an unknown number. Normally, I'd let it go to voicemail, but something urged me to pick up. "Hello," a man's voice answered. "Is this Daniel?" "Yeah, who's this?" "This is Richard Hayes, a lawyer. I represent a client with concerns about financial matters involving your family. Can we discuss this?" My stomach dropped. A lawyer, financial matters. My mind raced. Had Ethan taken out loans in my name? Was he scheming with my information, or was this a desperate attempt to scare me into helping again? "Who's your client?" I asked, a brief pause. "I can't disclose that yet, but this isn't a lawsuit against you. It's more of an inquiry." Against my better judgment, I agreed to meet. Curiosity got the better of me, and I couldn't shake the feeling this was bigger than Ethan's usual antics. The next day, I sat in Richard Hayes' office, unsure what to expect. He dropped a bombshell. "My client is Laura," he said, sliding a folder across the desk. I blinked, shocked. "Laura? Why would she need a lawyer?" Richard clasped his hands, studying me. "She believes Ethan's been misusing the money you've given him over the years. She has evidence suggesting he's been hiding funds from both her and you." My stomach churned. Hiding funds. What does that mean? He opened the folder, revealing bank statements, receipts, and what looked like text message screenshots. "Laura suspects Ethan's been diverting your contributions into a separate account, possibly using it for gambling and personal expenses rather than family needs." I stared at the papers, stunned. "You're saying the money I gave him for bills, for the kids' school supplies, it didn't go to them?" Richard nodded gravely. "It appears so. Laura only recently discovered this and came to me because she didn't know how to handle it. She hesitated to involve you but felt you deserved to know." I couldn't believe it. All those times I'd helped Ethan with emergencies. He'd been lying, using my money for who knows what. "Does Laura have proof?" I asked, my voice tight. "See for yourself," Richard said, pushing the folder closer. I flipped through the documents. There were transfers from my account to Ethan's, matching the times I'd helped with supposed crises. then withdrawals from his account to another in his name, followed by transactions to gambling websites, expensive restaurants, and even hotel stays. Unbelievable, I muttered, shaking my head. And Laura knew? She only found the second account recently, Richard explained. She'd had suspicions but no access to his banking details until she found some statements he'd left out. That's when she contacted me. I leaned back, trying to process it all. What does she want me to do? Press charges? Richard shook his head. Not yet. She's focused on protecting herself and the kids, but she wanted you to know in case Ethan tries to manipulate you further. I gave a bitter laugh. He already did, showed up at my house a few days ago, demanding I help again. Richard's expression hardened. That fits what Laura told me. Ethan's likely feeling the heat now that your support's gone. He may be in deeper trouble than she knows. My mind raced as I stared at the folder. Part of me wanted to storm over to Ethan's and confront him, but I knew that only give him the reaction he wanted. Instead, I asked, "What's Laura planning?" Richard paused. She's exploring her options. She wants to ensure she and the kids are secure, financially and otherwise. If Ethan's behavior worsens, she may pursue separation or other legal steps. Hearing that hit harder than I expected. Laura always seemed loyal to Ethan, so her readiness to leave showed how bad things had gotten. I thanked Richard and left, a mix of emotions swirling, anger at Ethan, sympathy for Laura and the kids, and guilt for not seeing this sooner. Above all, I felt an odd relief. For the first time in years, I wasn't carrying Ethan's weight. Knowing the truth meant I'd never let him manipulate me again. After leaving the lawyer's office, I couldn't stop thinking about the gambling, the hidden account, and Laura quietly planning her next move. It felt like I was caught in a family soap opera. I kept my distance for the next few days, not calling my parents or Ethan. But Ethan didn't like the silence. One evening, as I was about to eat dinner, his name flashed on my phone. I considered ignoring it, but answered. "What do you want, Ethan?" He didn't hold back. "We need to talk," he said, his voice tight, almost frantic. "You said something to Laura, didn't you?" I raised an eyebrow. "What are you talking about?" "Don't play dumb," he snapped. "She's been acting strange since Christmas, talking about lawyers and leaving me. I know you're putting ideas in her head." I couldn't help but laugh. "You think I'm the issue? You're the one who lied to her, hid money, and gambled it away. If she's done with you, that's your fault, not mine." There was a pause before he muttered, "You don't know what you're talking about." "Oh, I think I do," I shot back, my anger rising. "Laura told me everything, the secret account, the gambling, the money you wasted while I was killing myself to help you. You're pathetic, Ethan." He started to yell, but I cut him off. "Here's the deal," I said. "You've used me for the last time. I'm done bailing you out, done covering for you. If Laura leaves you, that's on you. And if you try to pull me into this mess again, I'll make sure everyone knows what you've been up to." I hung up before he could respond, my hands trembling but my heart lighter. It felt good to finally say what I'd bottled up for years. The fallout came fast. Laura called the next day. "Did Ethan call you?" she asked cautiously. "Yeah," I said. "He wasn't happy. What happened?" She hesitated. "I confronted him about the gambling and the hidden account. He admitted some of it but tried to downplay it." "Are you okay?" I asked. "I'm fine," she said, though her voice wavered. "But I'm done covering for him. The kids deserve better." Hearing her say that felt like the beginning of the end, and it hit me harder than I expected. "Whatever you decide, I'm here for you," I told her. "Thank you," she said quietly, "and I'm sorry about everything. Christmas wasn't fair to you. I should have spoken up sooner." We talked a bit longer, and when we hung up, I felt a strange sense of closure. Ethan had damaged our relationship, but Laura and the kids weren't my enemies. If she was brave enough to confront him, I wouldn't hold a grudge. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling that Ethan wasn't done causing chaos. A few weeks later, Laura sent me a text. "We're leaving today." She explained she was moving to another state with the kids while Ethan was away on a business trip, likely a cover for more gambling. She'd packed their things, rented a moving van, and left without telling him until she had legal matters sorted. I called her immediately. "I just couldn't stay," she said softly. "I can't keep pretending this is okay." "What about everything, like rent?" I asked, genuinely concerned. After a pause, she said, "I hate to ask, but I was hoping you could help with that just for a bit." "Say no more," I replied. "I've got you." So yes, I helped Laura and the kids, but for the first time in years, it felt like I was doing the right thing, not being taken advantage of. When Ethan came home to an empty house, he lost it, calling me to rant about how I'd ruined his life and turned Laura against him. I let him vent, then said, "Maybe this wouldn't have happened if you'd been a better husband and father instead of gambling everything away." But hey, good luck. I hung up. Laura and the kids are settling into their new school, and she's landed a steady job, finally feeling in control of her life. I've heard Ethan still blaming everyone but himself, but honestly, that's no longer my problem. And so, if you can call it that, I got my happy ending.